We'll start with Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Today we will be discussing or reading about the Sutta from Anguttara Nikaya from chapter 3.100. It is a lump of salt. Basically, the suttas generally what we perceive. Suttas is like suttas define in our practice what are the boundaries. Like it encourages us to how to practice and how to cultivate the development of our mind, and it covers all aspects of our life also in suttas. Suttas are basically uh, the discussions of Buddha during those times with lay disciples or monks. All these have been recorded in suttas. Now today we will be discussing about a lump of salt. You may remember a lump of salt is nothing but a block of salt, we can say it. I will start reading and I will explain in between. Mendicants, suppose you say, no matter how this person performs a deed, they experience it the same way. This being so, the spiritual life could not be lived and there would be no chance of making a complete end of suffering. Another paragraph, suppose you say, no matter how this person performs a deed, they experience the result as it should be experienced. This being so, the spiritual life can be lived and there is a chance of making a complete end of suffering. Here what Buddha was saying is, like there are some person, let's say one person is performing this deed, and let us say whatever the deed which he perform or whatever activity which he perform, if every activity has same end results, like same experience of every activity, then there is no purpose of the spiritual life in the first paragraph. In similar way, there he is saying, let us say a person is performing a deed and the karma, like the result of the activity is based on his deed, then we can say that definitely there is a spiritual life, there is a purpose of spiritual life that can be lived. And because of this performing of activity and we are getting some result, now we can change the result based on our activity. Here we can say that whatever activity we perform, if our activity are wholesome, definitely our actions will be wholesome. Here I would like to quote one Dhammapada verse, which you all may be knowing. Like whoever performs a good deed, then the actions will also be good, like wholesome. Let us say I perform an action of bad actions, then the result will also be unwholesome. Here we can say that whenever a person is performing any deed, the result is according to the activity or deed. We'll go further. Take the case of a person who does a trivial bad deed, but it lands them in hell. Meanwhile, another person does the same trivial bad deed, but experiences it in the present life without even a bit left over, let alone a lot. What kind of person does a trivial bad deed, but it lands them in hell? A person who hasn't developed their physical endurance, ethics, mind, or wisdom. They are small minded and mean spirited, living in suffering. That kind of person does a trivial bad deed, but it lands them in hell. And there is another similar context. What kind of person does the same trivial bad deed, but experiences it in the present life without even a bit left over, let alone a lot? A person who has developed their physical endurance, ethics, mind, and wisdom, they are not small minded, but a big hearted, living without limits. That kind of person does the same trivial bad deed, but experiences it in the present life without even a bit left over, not to speak of a lot. Here it is saying that, let us say there are two different persons. First person is a person who does not have small minded and hasn't developed any physical endurance, or we can say that he has not developed any wisdom qualities. And when he does this any deed, no, wrong deed, then he will experience and he will land up in the hell. And another case, let us say another person who has developed a wisdom and has basic ethics and are big hearted, and he has good wisdom, and when he does the same deed which the other person has done, then this person would would not experience much, not much, he will not go to hell, because he has already developed a lot of wisdom qualities in him. He will not land up in hell. There are some of the examples why he has, based on the Sebo context. What are the reasons why there are similes described in the suttas, like why he could not be able to develop land in the hell, and the other person who has small minded could able to land in the hell. Let us say, suppose a person was to drop a lump of salt into a small bowl of water. What do you think, mendicants? Would that small bowl of water become salty and undrinkable? Yes, sir. Why is that? Because there is only a little water in the bowl. Suppose a person was to drop a lump of salt into the Ganges river. What do you think, mendicants? Would the Ganges river become salty and undrinkable? No, sir. Why is that? Because the Ganges river is a vast mass of water. This is how it is the case of a person who does a trivial bad deed, but it lands them in hell. Meanwhile, another person does the same trivial bad deed, but experiences it in the present life without even a bit left over, not to speak of a lot. Here, the simile is like if you take any glass of water and if you add a lump of salt into it, then it becomes salty and undrinkable. One cannot drink it. Let us say same lump of salt, if we drop in a Ganges river, which has a very vast quantity of water, and this water will not become salty and undrinkable because it has a lot of water in it. In similar way, like here we are comparing like the water which we could not able to drink and it becomes salty. Like in a similar way, a person who is doing a deed, trivial bad deed, he ends up in the hell, like the first simile, where we could not able to drink the salty water. In another way, if a person does the similar trivial bad deed, who has a good wisdom qualities and who has developed a good ethics, since he has already had a good wisdom qualities, even the lump of salt when we drop in Ganges river, because of the vast quantity of water in it, the water will not be salty and undrinkable. This is the first simile which is explained in this sutta. And there are another similar similes where we can understand in detail about this comparison. Take the case of a person who is thrown in jail for stealing $50, $1, or $100, while another person isn't thrown in jail for stealing $50, $1, or $100. What kind of person is thrown in jail for stealing $50, $1, or $100? A person who is poor with few possessions and little wealth, that kind of person is thrown in jail for stealing $50, $1, or $100. What kind of person isn't thrown in jail for stealing $50, $1, or $100? A person who is rich, affluent, and wealthy, that kind of person isn't thrown in jail for stealing $50, $1, or $100. This is how it is in the case of a person who does a trivial bad deed, but they go into hell. Meanwhile, another person does the same trivial bad deed, but experiences it in the present life without even a bit left over, not to speak of a lot. Here the comparison is, let us say a person is stealing has stolen $50 or $1, a small quantity of money, and similarly another person is also stolen $50, $1, or $100 money. And let us say one person is very poor and he has little wealth and little possession. Here it is stating that if a person with few possessions, and if he is poor, even though if he has stolen for a $50 or $1 or $100, he is thrown into jail. While another person who is rich, affluent, and wealthy, if those person has stolen dollar, $50 or $100, they have, and they that kind of person isn't thrown in jail, because the person who is poor, few possession, will be easily caught, because he may not have developed a good wisdom qualities in it. While another person here is rich, affluent, and wealthy, if a big person has stolen only $50, no one will question him because he's already rich. In similar way, one who does a trivial bad deed, similar way, if a person does a trivial bad deed, one person who has not developed any wisdom qualities, he will go to hell. While another person, because of his vast quality of wisdom in him, he would not he would not land up in the hell, but he experiences instantly without experiencing it in this present life. And there's a similar simile, one more simile for explaining it. It's like a sheep dealer or butcher. They can execute, jail, fine, or otherwise punish one person who steals from them, but not another. What kind of person can they punish? A person who is poor with few possessions and little wealth. That's the kind of person they can punish. What kind of person can they punish? A ruler or their minister who is rich, affluent, and wealthy. That's the kind of person they can punish. In fact, all they can do is raise their joined palms and ask, please, good sir, give me sheep or pay me for it. That this is how it is in the case of a person who does a trivial bad deed but lands them in hell. Meanwhile, another person does the same trivial bad deed but experiences it in the present life without even a bit left over, not to speak a lot. Here, the simile is like there is a sheep dealer or butcher. This sheep dealer or butcher, suppose let us say someone has stolen a sheep from him. He can execute or he can jail him, he can fine the person. He cannot jail, fine a person to all the persons who has stolen, but he can fine only the persons who is very poor, because he can control over him for punishing him. And he cannot punish his ruler. Let us say his ruler also have stolen the sheep. He cannot punish the ruler, because ruler is, we cannot punish the ruler or wealthy person. Instead, he can ask the ruler or wealthy person, please give me or pay for the sheep which you have taken. But he can easily, the butcher can easily punish the person who is very poor, who have few possessions in him. In the same way, here we can say that if a person does a trivial bad deed, who can land into a hell? Who can land to hell? The person who has not developed his mind, or do not have any moral ethics. He will land up in hell. While another case, if a person does a trivial bad deed, but he has developed a good ethics, good moral conduct, he will not be experiencing this landing up in hell. But he will be experiencing it in this present life itself without having much effect on him. Here it is finally ending up like mendicants. Suppose you say, no matter how this person performs a deed, they experience it the same way. This being so, the spiritual life could not be lived, and there would be no chance of making a complete end of suffering. Suppose you say, no matter how this person performs a deed, they experience the result as it should be experienced. This being so, the spiritual life can be lived, and there is a chance of making a complete end of suffering. Here, the important wording is like, no matter how this person performs a deed, they experience the result as it should be experienced. What here I would like to explain is, whatever the actions which we perform from day to day activities, from wake up to end, like till the sleep, whatever the actions which we perform, let us say if we perform the wholesome actions, then the results which will be accrued will also be very wholesome. And let us say I am performing an unwholesome action, then the results will also become unwholesome. Let us say if every activity has only same result, then there is no purpose of doing this meditation or practicing the moral values at all. That's why we are practicing this practice, and we have spiritual life can be lived. And because of this, we can completely end our suffering. Here, I would like to take one more translation where it was explained. We'll read only few lines in it. We have translation from Tanisaru Bhikkhu. I would like to read only few paragraphs in it. Monks, for anyone who says, in whatever way a person makes a kamma, that is how it is experienced. There is no living of the holy life. There is no opportunity for the right ending of stress. But for anyone who says, when a person makes kamma to be felt in such and such a way, that is how its result is experienced. There is the living of the holy life. there's opportunity for the right ending of stress. There is a case where a trifling evil deed done by a certain individual takes into hell. There is a case where the very same sort of trifling deed done by another individual is experienced in the here and now, and for the most part barely appears for a moment. Here it is stating that, let us say I am doing one trivial bad deed, and let us say some similar person has done a trivial bad deed. Both the end results will not be same because of the same karma which they have done. The end result will be different based on the our wisdom development, based on our level of understanding. This one I want to. This is the main core of this sutta, a lump of salt. And I would request anyone have any questions. Any questions related to practice also?
Hello. Not really a question, but I just want to add, um, just when we are taking things personally, and at that moment we are not mindful and not done any 6R. But immediately when we are mindful, when we 6R, we can let go of it, and that karma of not being mindful, for the most part, barely appears for a moment. That anger or whatever we have indulged in, when we come out of it, then we can just 6R it and just experience that relief. That karma is being extinguished there, then and there. And this sutta, like every sutta, this sutta is also practically applied, like in each moment that we are experiencing in our life. Every time we do the 6R, we are letting go of moments and moments of suffering. And yes, and the first two Dhammapada verses that we read, whatever actions that we perform to the pure mind by way of body, speech, or mind, then the happiness will follow us. That I would like to add. That's it. Thank you.
If I would like to add this thing, mind is the forerunner of all evil states. Mind is chief. Mind made are they. If one speaks or acts, then unwholesome mind, because of that, suffering follows one, even as the wheel follows the hoof of the draft ox. Mind is the forerunner of all good states. Mind is chief. Mind made are they. If one speaks or acts with a pure mind, because of that, happiness follows one, even as the one shadow that never leaves. These are the two Dhammapada verses, first two Dhammapada verses, which we normally read in retreats. And these are truly apt, like whenever one performs an unwholesome deed, suffering will follow us. And whenever one performs or speaks or acts with a pure mind, because of that, happiness follows us. Paul sir, do you want to say anything, sir? Roy sir?
No, I would like to say this way.
Sir.
When you're speaking with the happiness, what she continued like that, that is only in the case of a cultivated mind. What she said, a particular aspect which continues forever, or karma is removed or anything, it is only with the cultivated mind, but not always with the uncultivated mind. That's what I want to add. Any comments, please?
Fine, sir. So Rohi sir, do you want to share anything, sir? Rohi Shetty sir. Vijay sir, do you want to say anything, sir?
Nothing but that Tanisaro Bhikkhu translation was more. I found it more interesting because it says that developed in mind and dwelling in suffering. So that was interesting too, because one person is dwelling in suffering, other is dwelling in. I think it says that higher Brahmavihara state. So probably even the small act doesn't affect him because he's living in dwelling in, I think, Brahma Vihara, something like that.
Truly, sir. I was also finding this Tanisaro Bhikkhu was relevant when compared to other translations. Why? Because here it is saying that there is a case where the very same sort of trifling deed done by another individual is experienced in the here and now, and for the most part barely appears for a moment. It is clearly explained here.
And also it says that, I think in footnote or somewhere it says, where passion cannot enter and stay in his mind, even if he does that act. I think that paragraph just below,
Yes, sir.
if you scroll a little bit down, it's living in the dwelling with the immeasurable. So basically, their whole context is different. That first person is dwelling in suffering, this person is dwelling in immeasurable, which means
Truly,
basically what he's doing is of less value than what he's dwelling in. What is his total state of mind is totally different. So this is very good, I think, explanation for this.
truly, sir. Truly,
I think
truly, sir.
basically when, like Mrs. Sindhu was saying, that if we when we are doing 6R and all that, we are basically going into a very good state of mind where I think the act matters less than what state of mind we are currently experiencing. It was good in that practice of 6R. We are basically in a better state of mind than aversion and greed and delusion.
Truly, sir. Truly.
That's all.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vijay sir. Paul sir, do you want to add anything, sir? Paul sir.
I'm a little bit puzzled by the examples given in the first sutta you read. It seems to be saying that if you're rich, if you have plenty of money, then you have wisdom. Whereas if you're a poor person, you don't have any wisdom. That's how I understand it, but surely that's not correct, is it?
Truly, it's true, sir. In the sense, there are in similes which have been explained here. Like here it is stating that basically core of this sutta is if a person, as you said, if a person is small-hearted and dwelling with suffering, and even though if he does some deed, trivial bad deed, he will experience the suffering or he will be landing up in the hell. When compared to another person who has done similar trivial deed, but he has developed in his mind, he has large-hearted and dwelling in the immeasurable, that person would not experience much and would not land up in hell. What you understand is also a similar way. Rich in here, rich in the sense he has virtuous behavior also, sir.
So it's not money.
It's not money. It's rich, and as in simile, it was explained as wealthy. For only for understanding it, However, the main important is here developed in mind, developed in virtue. We can say, sir.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yes, yes, truly.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sharma sir, do you want to add anything, sir? Otherwise, we will share the merit, sir, and we will end the session, sir. We will read this sharing merit along with all, sir. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all be happy, wishing all happiness to all. Thanking you, sir. Thanking you all for joining.
Thank you, Sachin. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Paul, sir. Thank you, Rohit, sir.
Thank you. Sadhu,
Thank you, Sharma, sir.
sadhu.
Yes, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye bye.
Yes, sir.